What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Shoot the Gap, the IDP Fantasy Football podcast here at Fantasy and Frames and on the Fantasy and Frames podcast network. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards, and it's just you and me, Steve. You and I are the two remaining survivors here. So, everybody, welcome to the show. Steve, how you doing today?
Good. I feel like you set this up. Like, if you wanted an intimate moment with me, you just all you gotta do is buy me dinner, take me to movies or something.
Right.
You didn't have to plan this.
I do have the time to make a road trip, so that could have been. I should have thought about that. You are absolutely right. Damn it, Jorge, messed up again.
I guess we should tell the fans that don't know, Gary has herpes, so he won't be here this week.
Well, you know what? When he starts talking about all his Amani hookers that people are stealing from him in terms of players to talk about, that's bound to happen. So Gary, fortunately for you, we live in a world of modern medicine, and they could take care of that stuff. So don't you worry one bit.
Get well soon, buddy.
Seriously, we got Epic Fail in the chat. Hey y'all, hey you too. Welcome to Shoot the Gap, and everybody else who's tuning in over on X and over on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining in. The Facebook crowd, come on! I know you're there. I know you can see us. I know you're listening. Come on over. We don't bite. We'll give you some good information and hopefully make you laugh along the way. Just before we get into everything, I just wanted to kind of like shoot the what with you. Any fun stories? Any cool stuff you have going on lately there, Steve?
I've been grinding a lot. I will tell you. Remember Ultra GM?
Yes.
I'm 30. I'm 30. I'm undefeated in the 14-team league, and I only lost one game in the 32-team league. It's fun. It's great being a GM, but once you get your roster loaded, it's kind of like set and forget. And I've just been kind of rolling through the week, so it's really fun. It's fun to do, guys. So if you guys want to check it out next year, maybe me and you can get a team, and we'll go after each other.
Absolutely, 100%. When you were talking about Ultra GM, how it's basically like every single position on a football team that is your roster, that screamed to me like, yeah, this has to be done.
I'm not gonna lie, I used this show to help my team. I loaded up Barrett Carter, Tatum Bethune, just players that were on waivers. I just loaded my Carolina Panther team with like actual starters. So I'm out there just killing it every week.
No, yep, exactly. We got Jamie in the chat saying, "Hey there, sexy fellas." Hey there to you, Jamie. Jamie's such a nice guy. I gotta be honest with you. No, you disagree?
He must be just talking to you directly. I don't know. I don't get much love out of Jamie. I called him the other day. He's like, "Oh, I can't talk. I'll call you back."
That's funny. All right, so let's. Jamie has a question actually before we get into news and notes. So let's answer this one real quickly. Joey Bosa versus an inexperienced Walter Rouse. What are you expecting out of Bosa this week? I'm expecting if there's anybody who's going to hit home, it's going to be Gregory Rousseau. Which, if you look at the metrics the past 3 weeks, granted Buffalo did have their bye, no one's really blowing people away in terms of pass rush metrics, and so that is kind of concerning. You are seeing some, not a lot of pass rushers, not a lot of pressures. The tackle volume has been relatively low. So, for Rousseau, I already have, tempered expectations written into my skull. For Bosa, even more so. Do you disagree? Agree with that, Steve?
It's a tough rotation, and you ask one IDP guy, he'll tell you something different. It's like the Bible. Everyone has their own interpretation of the story. I know people that are still playing Epinosa. I'm like, there's no way. Get rid of that. Like, that rotation is just crud right now. So, Yeah, Jamie asked me this earlier. I told him I can't call it. Please don't put it in the chat. He did anyway. That's my relationship with Jamie.
Yeah. So funny story. For me, I don't know if we've had this conversation before, but I'm sure I've said it to the people who've listened to the show before. I'm a post-it note whore. Jorge is a post-it note whore, and so like most people have like a notebook, and I bought a notebook. It has like a black cover. I put my black and white Fantasy and Frame sticker on it, and I told myself this is my notebook that I'm putting in all my notes, all my thoughts, all my ideas, all my everything. I'm going to be planning out the next year for Fantasy and Frames here. Like I always like to do things far in advance, yada, yada, yada. My entire desk, like keyboard right in front of me, is like Post-it notes, and they're not sticking to the keyboard, right? And they're not sticking to the desk. So I have to be careful. I'm breathing this way, and this way. Because if I go down this way, then Mother of God, it is like, the Amazon rainforest would have fell down in my office, in the trees and the paper. It just would go all over the place.
I do have a notebook, my friend. Are you familiar with a movie Memento by chance? Have you ever seen
I know
that?
I know I should be, but I'm not.
Great movie. The guy's trying to solve a crime because he can't remember, hence but Memento, but he's writing notes and gets to the point he's doing tattoos on him. So it's a great movie. It'll take you down a rabbit hole, much like IDP takes us down rabbit holes.
Well, I hope I watch this and not get any bad ideas of like, you know what, screw these post-it notes. Ink on skin is the way to go. But I'll check it out. No, seriously, that is a good call. And you know, Steve, I always love your recommendations, whether we're talking about comic books, movies, references. Just always a good call there. We got Badger in the chat saying he's struggling to figure out which Bears defensive back to start this week.
Yeah,
Byard and Brisker. Yeah,
that's a good question, actually.
Right. And this is kind of one of the questions we'll talk about during Money and Mirage when we're talking about position alignment on the field.
Yes.
Is like
You're on it.
It should make sense. It should make sense that a player that is in the best position to make plays is the player that you want to have starting in your defensive back slot. It does not make sense when the person who is farther away from said position on the field to do that has more success.
So I almost wrote this in my box snap article that it should come out tomorrow. I almost put the Bears in there because earlier I was saying, fade Brisker because he's not getting his slot usage. But if you look recently, as you said, he's getting a lot of trench snaps. He's getting a lot of pressure. So he's like Derwin James light, So right. That's an excellent question, what he's asking right now. Thanks for sharing that, Badger.
Yeah, I would personally still, man, I love giving well-researched opinions, and I want to say stick with, with Brisker moving closer to the line of scrimmage. That's kind of the direction I'm leaning now, given the recent trend. But if you started Byard, like, I wouldn't be like, "Damn you to hell, that was the wrong decision. You should never have done that." You know what I mean? Like, there's
on it.
I
have it right now because what you just said. I have it Brisker 11, I have Byard 13. They're really close together, and I could easily just switch it. You know how Jorge, that whole month you were excited about overalls? That's how I am about those players. One day I'm a Byard, one day I'm a Brisker. That's an excellent question, and like I said, IDP, it flips like a dime. It flips like a drop of a hat. You asked me that 2 weeks ago. I said on my show. I think Badger, you might have been on my show when I asked. I said, no, I'm going Byard. And I was right for 2 games, and then this week, he hit the sack. It's always dangerous with trench guys. It really is, because you got to get them to hit, so.
Yeah. So I do want to plug our next show that's starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, Fourth and Frames with Drew Scott, with Aiden Weingardner, with Kyle Ziegler, with Rhett Manuel. They cover the offensive side of the ball. They'll give you some news and notes and give you their smash or pass plays for Week 8. So, Ezekiel, I see you in the YouTube chat. That is the show you definitely want to hit up those guys who are going to be talking on the offensive side of the ball. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody this episode to cover your question on offense. We'd like to keep it strictly to defense. But seriously, 10 p.m. Eastern, if you could just stay up a little bit, I'll prioritize your question. I'll let them know to answer it the first thing they go live. So still stick with us, Ezekiel. We got your back covered. Don't worry this week. Steve, let's get into some news and notes. So I can't believe we still live in a world where Denzel Perryman is still a name that is still mentioned across IDP circles. Not so much even for like, Denzel Perryman, he's the guy we need to be putting in our LB3 spot or, flex spot or something like that. It's like, no, Troy Dye may be injured again. He may not be playing on Thursday, so Perryman may eat into snaps or probably will take a lot of the snaps. And that's kind of as far as it goes. And that's kind of what we're getting news from so far as practice reports are concerned for Thursday Night Football. Andrew Van Ginkel out. He's been dealing with some type of neck injury the course of the season. The more he keeps getting declared out, the more I keep wondering, like, at what point do the Vikings say, look, we got Dallas Turner, we need to get him some more reps. We invested the draft capital in him. Like, let's just kind of put him on IR and just let Van Ginkel rest up. Even though I'm a huge Van Ginkel fan, but things are getting kind of tricky there for the Minnesota Vikings and for
He's
fantasy
30
managers out
right
there.
now. It's just going to keep going
Right.
downhill, like that Volkswagen you love. You know, we did the Team Peaks Dynasty section of the video. We were talking. So, yeah, I'm a little worried with Ginkle as well. But you got to smoke him if you got him right now. I mean, what else who else do you have there usually, you know?
Right. No, that's a very good point. Although I will say Troy Dye has been playing lights out as far as a good LB2, LB3, low-end LB2, high-end LB3 for fantasy managers the past few weeks. So, you know, we saw him out last week, I believe, and then he is not practicing so far this week. Things to monitor. If he is somebody who is going to be playing this week and he is available on your team's waiver wire, and, of course, we have 6 teams on bye, so if you're hurting at linebacker, he would not be a bad pickup for you this week. Dorrance Armstrong, Washington Commanders. Whoop, whoop, go Commanders, even though it's going to be goddamn bloodbath on Monday Night Football there, Steve. I am not ready for this. Nate Markham, if you're watching, goddamn you. Renowned Kansas City Chiefs fan. Dorrance Armstrong heading to IR, had a season-ending knee injury against the Cowboys. Jacob Martin, who is a name we'll be talking about a little bit later, is slated to get a lot of opportunity now. We saw him get to the quarterback. We saw him get to Dak Prescott last week. We saw him applying the pressures. And, in fact, he's been applying a lot of pressure. But, again, I don't want to give up too much away. We will get into that during our IDP plays and fades. Heading over to the Bay Area, Bryce Huff suffered a hamstring injury versus the Falcons this past week. Will be on the shelf for a couple weeks. Michael Williams, obviously, the rookie, will be in line for more snaps here. I'm not super excited, just because I haven't seen a lot. You know, we haven't seen a lot. There hasn't been a reason to get him on the field a lot until now. Now we're in like desperation mode. So he's definitely somebody, and I'm sure you agree, that we're going to be keeping tabs on very closely this week before we start even mentioning him as a potential option for fantasy managers. Speaking of options for fantasy managers, you know, come on, we all like our linebackers here in IDP world. We you know, they're the lifeblood of our rosters, you know. That being said, you know, when you have a linebacker that you've been a fan of for years and they've dealt with injuries, you're just like, man, I just wish he would just get healthy and come back to the way he was. And then they finally arrive. They finally make it back to the field, and you're just like, yes, yes. And they take your hopes and dreams, and then they crush them because they apparently had to chase after a referee after the game and shout obscenities at him. Was that what happened with Dre Greenlaw? But apparently he's suspended this week, so God damn it.
I've been living that great Dre Greenlaw nightmare for 2 years now. Because last year he was hurt, if you remember. Then he came back, and then he got hurt again. So I'm just holding this guy collecting dust. I'm so aggravated. But, yeah, apparently the rumor is, you know, the coach speak is he was standing up for one of his teammates, whatever. And I think it was like in the last place of the game. I'm like, what are we doing here? So, yeah, it's sad. You're kind of alluding to it. This was the week of the linebacker. Last week was good. This week, holy cow, names are just coming left and right off the chart here. You know.
Oh yeah, we got a question here from Epic Fail. Do you like Cashman versus the Chargers this week without Van Ginkel again, or Servassier Dennis, who I love that name like nobody's business? If you know, head over to my article over at Fantasy and Frames for waivers for Week 8. I created a GIF, you know, that website Giphy where you can create GIFs. Yeah. I created a Servassier Dennis GIF, and I really put some thought into this. And so you don't even read the article, just look at the GIF.
It was so funny. I was laughing my butt off. Yeah.
But to be honest with you, Dennis may be somebody I'll be talking about a little bit later. Although Cashman, we saw him come back last week. I think he played, 100% of snaps, if not high 90s. So I would be fine rolling in Cashman this week. And I probably would be fine, or would I be fine rolling in Dennis this week? We'll find out later what my thoughts are here. We got Aiden in the chat who will be on Fourth and Frames a little bit. He says he has Michael Williams. You better get going now a lot. He says he's also not hopeful either. So.
A public service announcement to Mr. Williams. I've heard Aiden's rants. They're legendary, Jorge. You better get a sack for this guy, or he's gonna run his mouth on Twitter and his video, his podcast. You
know, so he was one of our writers here at Fantasy and Frames, and he put out a really good article today where he's talking about the 5 trades that could impact the fantasy season. And so the Fantasy and Frames Twitter account put it out there, and I quote tweeted, and the tweet itself was a Lord of the Rings reference. And I quote tweeted it, and I said, yet another reference Aiden probably won't get. And what do you know? He responds, he's like, yeah, I haven't seen any of the Lord of the Rings movies. I watch them weekly. I was showing my son Fellowship of the Ring today. He's like, 13 months. So
I don't want to alienate your band of brothers here, or the Fancy Frames team. But I was listening in the Discord, and they don't even know. They never watched The Godfather, and they never watched Rocky. So I get in the chat. I'm like, if I break the movie up, it's only 2 hours. Rocky's 2 hours. If I break it up in 120 60-minute TikTok videos, would you watch it? I think I got one laugh, and that might have came from you. So yeah, they don't watch TV. They don't get our humor much. I don't know.
A lot of wasted references in that Discord chat, which it's funny, but it's also sad because that makes me think, damn, am I old now? I don't.
My parents. Well, even when my parents would say some stuff, I'd look it up. I'm like, oh, that's where that comes from. But they don't care. They're like, dude, get out of our way. The internet's ours. The world is ours. Social media. Here I come.
Divine Diablo, safety, converted linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons, has a forearm fracture. He'll be out the rest of out for a few weeks. We will be talking about linebacker, replacements here a little bit later in the show for the Falcons. So stay tuned for that. Hassan Reddick had an injury. It was a knee and ankle injury on Monday Night Football. The first game, I think it was. I think they were the first game. Yeah, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah. So he's out.
Those double headers are wearing me out, Jorge.
Dude, right? Like it's. Oh my God.
I needed 1 point, or no, 2 points. I needed one solo tackle from EJ Speed for the King of IDP tournament that went on Facebook. I got it. I won last second. And same thing with King's Classic. I needed a couple points over there, and I won the first game, but I could not hang. I'm like, okay, let me just. I'll catch it in the morning. I'll look in the morning. So I'm not gonna lie. I wussed out last second, but those double headers are wearing me out.
I'm right there with you. Speaking of wearing people out, apparently this guy's not worn out. Talking about Brandon Graham coming out of retirement for the Philadelphia Eagles to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's as far as we need to go as far as talking about anything IDP related. Donovan Wilson, apparently he's been dealing with injuries. I didn't realize he may have been out or had limited snaps on this past weekend versus Washington, but he was not seen at Cowboys practice today. A little bit concerning. He has been a solid, flex, streamer type of guy for the Dallas Cowboys. He's been asked to play a lot more in the box this year. So, every time I see a tackle when I'm watching Cowboys games, I'm like, oh, there's Donovan Wilson again. So just something to pay attention to if you're a Donovan Wilson fan or manager. And then to wrap things up here, Kenny Moore II did not participate in practice after returning last week for Indy, dealing with an Achilles injury. Here's my Yoda speak for the day. The question now is like, well, who will be that slot cornerback that people are going to be wanting to roster really badly for Indy? And again, we may be talking about that person a little bit later. So stay tuned for that. So Steve, if you think we've missed anything, let me know. If not, let's just go to Money and Mirage.
Go for it.
All right. So we just and so the premise is, for those of you who are not aware, we're going to give you a statement, and then Steve and I are going to talk about whether or not we believe it's a true statement or it's just a thing, a fictional dream in our head that we wish it was true, but it's really something that we're not really having too much faith in. So let's start us off here. Let's go to the Crescent City. I think it's the Crescent City, New Orleans. I think I got that right. Given Pete Werner's poor play per efficiency metrics for the New Orleans Saints at linebacker, he is droppable now in both shallow and deep IDP leagues in terms of roster sizes and bench sizes. Do you think that's a money statement or a mirage statement?
Droppable in all formats. I'm gonna say no, but
redraft.
Oh, redraft. Well, see, the thing is with Warner, his snaps are so up and down. He's had 91% snaps beginning of the year, 89 game 2, 74 game 3. That's when we were starting to think he was an every down linebacker. But when you look at it now, it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, 69%, 88, 59, 54. I can't play him. So in a redraft, I'm going to tell you, shallow bench, redraft, I'm probably going to have to drop him so I can get somebody to play, because I don't play linebackers that aren't every down. That's just how I play. So, I think he's droppable. And to quote Robert Louis Stevenson, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, it's an excellent book. Check it out. That's who Pete Werner is, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, and not to mention, we think you got to think back to the drafting of Danny Stutzman this past few months ago in the NFL draft. I believe it was Ohio State, if memory serves me correctly. Don't quote me, but he was brought in to be that linebacker replacement, and many thought that was going to be the Demario Davis role. But then we saw him over the course of the summer that he was improving his coverage skills. So then it's like, ooh, is he going to take over Pete Werner? And so now you're seeing the decrease in fluctuations in snaps with Pete Werner. You have to ask yourself down the road, if I'm dropping Pete Werner now, should I be keeping tabs on Danny Stutzman a little bit later as we progress through the season?
So for context, Danny Stutzman, University of Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
He was an all-star college phenom like 2 years ago. Those that watch college, those that watch Devy. That's why it's so hard to get into Devy, because they get all geeked up about these guys, and then by the time the draft comes, they got warts. He struggled and run the fence this year in college, but he's starting to get it. He's starting to figure it out. He may not be a factor right now, but yeah, that's a dynasty stash for me. Warner's a plug and play. You know what makes me mad about Warner though, Jorge? It's like he'll have that big game. He'll have that 12 tackle game, week 14 out of nowhere. But yeah, right now his snaps aren't playable, so you can't trust Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde over here. Yeah,
100%. And for our second Money and Mirage question, and this kind of ties back into the question we had on YouTube regarding Byard and Brisker box safety versus free safety. Finally, and all the Grant Delpit fans out there, you were praising to the high heavens, raising your voice to the high heavens this past week. Finally, Grant Delpit, who's been playing closer to the line of scrimmage than Ronnie Hickman, finally produced for fantasy managers by having more fantasy points. If we're talking about, I think any platform, whether it's 1, 2, 3, whether it's Fantasy Pros, whatever, Delpit finally produced over Ronnie Hickman, who typically plays a coverage role and yet has been outperforming Delpit for weeks. So therefore, Money or Mirage. If fantasy managers had to choose between both safeties, managers should still roster Hickman given his more consistent track record in fantasy production and drop Delpit. Is that a money statement or a Mirage statement?
So what's funny is I actually wrote about this in the safety dance a couple weeks ago, and that was my icebreaker. Hey, don't look now. Hickman outscores Delpit. Right. But if you give the whole season, if you give the whole body of work, that deep zone guy, he's going to get lapped by the guy in the middle because context matters, because the sweet spot matters. So between the two, it's always going to be Delpit over Hickman just because of the position. We just haven't seen that. So give that time, and it's actually starting to show now. I don't play many free safeties, many coverage guys. So, yeah, I don't play Hickman anywhere, So yeah, it's Delpit for me.
All right, we got Christian in the chat. Hey, guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. All right, folks, let's get to what you want to hear about. Let's talk about some IDP plays and fades for Week 8. All right, let me grab my first Post-it note that I can then throw away in the trash and, kill another tree for doing this because I'm a Post-it note whore. Heads or tails? I'm not even going to flip a coin. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first? You tell me.
I'll go first because I kind of want to mix it up. It's just us here. We're having a candlelight dinner. It's just intimate. You're trying to woo me. I get it. This week is such a huge week. The bye-week apocalypses are coming. We have Arizona Cardinals, Detroit Lions, Jacksonville Jaguars, the Raiders, the Rams, the Seahawks on buys. Probably have other teams, but yeah. All these IDP players on a buy, so this is a perfect opportunity to go a little deeper. So I don't know if you've seen the tweet I see. Let's go deeper than we normally do. How deep? I don't know. So deep. So I got 2 DLs for this category for plays. I'm going to give you a DL 1 automatic, and then I'm going to give you a guy a little bit deeper, that Fantasy Pros isn't caught up to. So do you want me to do both, or how do you want me to do it?
Yeah, do both. Crank out both of them. Absolutely.
Okay. First one's real simple. You got Myles Garrett versus Seahawks. It's one of the worst protecting the quarterback. I think they're 4th right now position. That's an easy one. That's a slam dunk every week. Myles Garrett for me. I'm playing him everywhere I could. I wish I didn't burn him and use him on my sack lunch. That was the only one that I didn't hit on. I've hit on every week but that one. I used him against the dreaded Vikings. But yeah, Myles Garrett for me this week. Seahawks, ultimate play, tier 1 player. Let's talk about somebody deeper. I couldn't even find him in Fantasy Pros ranked, Jorge.
That's bad.
Kayvon Chasen of the Patriots.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Love him.
Holy cow, is he putting up a season, guys, and that's one of the waiver wire pickups that I think me and you both wrote about.
Yep.
He's got a matchup against the Browns. They're middle of the pack. I believe they're 13th. But what you really want to look at is the tackles. That's where they've been getting eat up alive. Cleveland's unit start off season at strength. Now it ranks near the bottom in pass blocking win rates. So Chasen's been really under the radar. 12 tackles, 4.5 sacks. He only played 6 games. He didn't play a 7th game. And what I like about Chasen, I'm ballsy enough to play him as a DL2, DL3 type, probably DL2 type. What's great about Chasen is teams are gonna prep for Milton Williams and Harold Landry, and he's just gonna run free. So that's a really good one. And of course, I know you got a guy. I don't want to steal your guy. You know who you're about to say because you had him a week before I did. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on your next player.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So we'll nice setup. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Let's get a few of these questions real quickly before we get into that. It says Badgers here. What about Campbell versus Delpit? I'm still rolling Delpit. Just give me the box snaps there. We got Nadir Media says, nice to meet you guys. Nice to meet you too. He traded Aiden Hutchinson for, is that supposed to be Jordan Davis and Tyke Smith? Or I'm trying to figure out Jay Davis. Who is that? Again, it really depends. If you're hurting at secondary, Tyke Smith has been phenomenal. But for me personally, finding those elite edge rushers or defensive linemen is just so difficult. Once I have one, it's like Elmira from Tiny Toons. I'm going to hug it and squeeze it and make it my very own. I'm not getting rid of it. So
yeah, you're on it. You did your homework. You did your algebra homework this week, Jorge. You're on it. Maybe we need to get rid of the other guys more often. You are laser focused this episode. Elite defensive linemen do not grow on trees. And what is there, like 7 of them? Maybe 9 if you want to stretch and count the Bonitos and all those types. About 9. There's very rare in drafts. In things. I don't like giving up my DLs, even if it's a bench player. That's just me because I could find DBs each season. Now, what he got, Tyke Smith, is great.
Right.
It's a good piece, but me personally, I'm not going to say he lost it because trading's subjective anyway. As long as both owners mutually win, I love trading, but I would prefer to be on the other side. I chase, I hunt, pun intended. IDP owner, I hunt elite DLs and volume-based linebackers. That's my whole game, and then I plug and play the DBs. But
absolutely. We got the Smitty here. What's going on? Welcome back. He says, I need a defensive back and a D-line man. Who's a good thing this week? There are a lot of good things this week.
I think you got a guy because I got him. I got him in an expert league. The guy that I'm trying to do telepathy with you here. I think that's who he may need. If Chasen ain't there, it's going to be Jorge's guy for you. DB's me and you both got for days. We can address that as we go.
Absolutely. So I'll give you that guy Smitty in a second, and then we have Bowman. I'm trying to figure out which or Yaya Diaby. I may be talking about Yaya Diaby, wrong book. I would roll Yaya with Hassan Reddick out. He should get. He's already been getting a lot of the snaps. We've seen some good positive progression in his performances this week, and he does have a good matchup. So I would roll Yaya. Oh, he was answering his question. Okay, sorry.
Oh.
Okay, now I get it. So, sorry, Nadir Media. All right, so the guy that Steve is graciously had been mentioning is Alex Wright of the Cleveland Browns. And so when I'm going to give you my analysis, folks, it's going to be over like a 3-week sample because I like to break things up in chunks just so I can follow the trends as closely as I possibly can. So just keep that in mind when I'm referencing stats here. So one of the things I like to look for when I'm looking at defensive linemen for my roster is that I want to be very weary of the guy who gets me like 1 or 2 tackles and then gets me a sack or multiple sacks because on paper you're just like, or when you're looking at your box score, fantasy score in your app, I got double-digit fantasy points, or I got this, I got that. And this guy's amazing, but you take those are like on offense, how you can't count on touchdowns every week as the main definitive factor for why you want to get somebody. You talk about targets, you talk about volume, yada, yada, yada. Sacks is another one where you just can't do that. What you can do though is look at tackles and see how efficient they are at tackles. And tackles are what help elevate or descend your floor, your fantasy floor, and then everything, all the impact plays that come after that, that's just icing on the cake and the cherry on the cake. So Alex Wright, the past 3 games, has been lighting it up when it comes to tackle and tackle efficiency. 15 total tackles, 9 solos, 5 assists, 5 tackles for a loss, a sack, quarterback hit, forced fumble. I mean, he's right there in terms of pressures, right behind Myles Garrett. So even though the sacks have not converted as much as you would like, that floor is there to the point where, like, if he does hit home, you're going to have a big week. You're going to have a big week. When you look at using Fantasy Pros IDP scoring, and you look at all the defensive ends over the past 3 weeks, he ranks as the defensive end 9 with 12.9 points per game. New England, that's who they're facing this week in weeks 5 through 7. While they have been stingy against getting sacks and allowing sacks, what they are been notorious for the past 3 weeks is giving a lot of tackles, giving up a lot of tackles for a loss. Boom. That's your sweet spot there for Alex Wright. So Alex Wright is definitely somebody you should definitely be paying attention to and starting this week for the Cleveland Browns. And my second guy.
Before you do that, Jorge, just to throw it to the audience.
Yeah.
I even catch myself sometimes. You're looking for that big sack. You hear us talk about sack lunch. Sometimes getting the volume-based tackles is the way, and that's what he's doing. He's getting all those sweet tackles while in containing the pressure. But yeah, that's a good player. Me and Jorge both were chasing this guy. I think you messaged me, and I went and I looked back. I'm like, son of a bitch. Jorge had him a week before me. You were on this guy before anybody thought he was cool. I got him in my expert league drafting, the king of IDP, and I needed DL3 this week where I was going to have to play like Chris Jones or somebody, right? I found him on waivers before anybody else did. So kudos to you. If he hits, if he pops for you, buddy, thank Jorge.
Well, thank you very much. My second guy, former commander, got traded, which, I'm not going to hate too much because I think one of those trades helped facilitate Jaden Daniels getting drafted, so I'm not going to hate that too much. But I'm going to talk about Montez Sweat. Again, not blowing you away with pressure metrics, not blowing you away in the sack department. The last 3 games played, though, however, again, getting that tackle floor. 10 total tackles, 8 solos, 2 assists. You like to see that because solo tackles count for more, traditionally speaking. 2 tackles for a loss, 2 QB hits, 1 sack, 2 forced fumbles, 6 defensive stops, which constitutes a negative play for the offense. So these are not just like tackles that are happening 10, 11 yards down the field that, if from a real football perspective, helps nobody on the defensive side of the ball. This guy's blowing up plays for the defensive edge rushers for the Chicago Bears the past 3 weeks. In the past 3 weeks, defensive ends in points per game, the defensive end 5, averaging 14.5. Granted, a lot of that came from last week. He hit home with the sack, so take that into consideration. But the Ravens this week are 6th in fantasy points allowed to defensive ends. Yeah, so he's definitely somebody, again, tackle floor. If I had to rank them as far as like who I would want to start, if I had to pick the 2 of those guys right now, Alex Wright or Sweat, it'd be Wright first, then Sweat after that. But again, the matchup is really, really good against Baltimore. No Lamar Jackson probably this week. Another week of Cooper Rush. So give me Montez Sweat as having another opportunity. At least get that tackle floor for you and even get that impact play heading in your direction. All right, let's hit linebackers next, or let's let the linebackers hit us, shall we? You want to start us off again, Steve?
I'm too old for that. I'm gonna let no linebacker hit me. I'm just not. But I do have a linebacker for you. Fantasy Pros got him LB24. I'm gonna put some balls on this. I'm gonna say he's an LB12 for the week. I'm gonna say that. That's a huge jump. I think you can get a tier 2 in a tier 1 and claim it's a tier 1. It's Barrett Carter of the linebacker of the Bengals. We all know who that is, but allow me to go on a rant. This is the only time I get to. This is therapy for me, Jorge. It's the only time I get frustration.
You're in a safe spot.
I've been on 2 shows lately, and I believe he's the most misunderstood player on the planet. One show told me, this is 2 weeks ago, there's a misconception about this guy. They're like, yeah, I just don't know how he's going to play. Yes, you should. He's replacing Logan Wilson. How hard is that? Then the next thing is, yeah, I don't know if he's going to wear the green dot again. He wore the green dot last week. Why wouldn't he wear it this week? Over Demetrius Knight, again, I'm still complaining. Demetrius Knight, if you look at his snaps lately, he's playing a lot of coverage snaps. leading this guy by default to play the box. And that's what you're seeing in week 6 and week 7. He's wearing the green dot. Guess what, Jorge? Every down linebacker article, he's got 57 box snaps, and last week 40 box snaps, resulting in 22 tackles over that span. Hence that LB2. His tackle efficiency is strong too. But yeah, the other guy's in coverage. Don't get it twisted. Carter by default is getting the box roll. There's no reason not to think that Barrett Carter is a tier 1 player right now, tier 1 linebacker. I'm going to put little balls on. Like I said, I'm going to put LB12 for the week. We'll see if I hit it. If I don't, I'm probably close to that. But he's getting volume. He's getting snaps. And last but not least,
running into some connection issues there with Steve, but definitely agree with you on Barrett Carter. We'll get Steve back in the studio as soon as the connection issues get connected. The Deer Media has a question here. He says, start 2 RDLs, get tackle boost for to balance edge scoring. Nice. I actually never thought about that. I'm assuming you're using MFL. He wants to know Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, Yaya Diaby, or Montez Sweat. Man, again, the tackle boost, the tackle 4, like I was talking about with Montez Sweat, is something that I just feel you just can't ignore versus Baltimore this week. Especially the solo to assist tackle numbers that you've been getting out of Sweat the past 3 weeks, and you're getting a boost for that. He would be my RDL. As far as the other player, I would start Nakobe Dean. You saw him against the Giants a couple weeks ago. He was just playing special teams. Last week he came on, played a majority of snaps at off ball. We saw Jihad Campbell move more to the edge, more edge rusher role. And, I wrote about Nakobe Dean, and Steve did as well, in both our respective waiver wire articles. Mine you could check out at fantasyandframes.com. His you could check out at Fantasy Six Pack. I mean, Nakobe Dean is somebody that you look back to last year. He had it was a really horrible patella tendon injury. I mean, that's something that could end careers. And the fact that he's playing says a lot to just how far he's come from being like a human being recovering from an injury, granted professional athlete, right? But the fact that he is gearing up to be playing more with these snaps, he and Zach Bond can be that tandem like they were last year, where they were just destroying people left and right. So give me Nakobe Dean and Montez Sweat. Who you got here, Steve, for Nadir Media?
Same thing with Dean, like you just said. Dean was 3rd on the team in tackles. What did he play, like 45% of snaps? I got it the same way as you. Don't even think about it. Set it, forget, sleep like a baby.
All right. Let's see here. Got one more question, then we'll get to the rest. Summer, what's going on? What are your thoughts on Quinn Williams or Greg Rousseau at DL this week? Also, how would you rank Sherwood, Bond, and Brooks this week and rest of season? So my rankings have not been finalized. I don't want to misspeak here, but I got to be honest with you. If you're having to pick between Sherwood, Bond, and Brooks as your linebacker, if you had to pick one, I think you're in a pretty freaking good spot. Sherwood had a huge week last week. Bond, I'm actually kind of low on Bond this week. I may have him ranked a little bit lower than the number 1 consensus overall, which I believe is Fantasy Pros has him currently. And Jordan Brooks, we saw Tyrell Dodson come back and basically dominate last week. So if I had to pick one this week, it would be Sherwood. Rest of the season, man, the Jets are just so bad. I may have to think Sherwood has the opportunity to be one for both. As far as the first question goes, I don't like it, but I'd start Rousseau. I really don't like it. Steve, what about you? What are your thoughts here?
So let's do the linebackers first, because those are always fun. I got it. Me personally, I like it. Bond, Brooks, Sherwood. But if you want to go Brooks, Bond, Sherwood, you're not wrong, because I've seen people talk that and believe that. I just think Dotson just eats just a little bit of that. But that's how I got it. And you're right, Jorge. All of those guys are top 5. You're winning your league if you could just stream DBs, and hopefully you got one elite DL. Now, to your DL case, these aren't elite DLs. To me, Quinn Williams is actually playing a little bit better than I anticipated. The rest of the Jets edges, I can't play him. You see I'm cutting them left and right. Rousseau is more like that sweet play. Maybe he'll get a sack this week, boom, and then most of the weeks he'll bust. You just got to ride that hand. I think I would play Rousseau. I would just play Rasu and hope I get a sack. DTs aren't bad. To your last segment, when you're talking about Alex Wright and all these tackle guys, there's some DTs out there you can play, like Brian Murphy. I play him as a DL too as well. If your league gives you like 1, 2, 3 scoring, if you get that tackle for loss too, so anything over that, if your league gives you like 4 points tackle for loss, look at it. If your league gives you 3 points tackle for loss, look at it. That's when you can start playing DTs. That may be the tipping point to me, your scoring. So I play a lot of DTs because they penetrate, they get the thing in those type of scoring. Look at your tackles for loss with that question. But if all things are even, everything's 50-50, I'm going Rasu just for the upside.
All right, let's get to your second linebacker for the week here as far as the play is concerned there, Steve. Summer, by the way, you keep throwing all these questions where you have really, really good players. And part of me wonders whether you've asked your league mates to watch our show so you can come on the show and gloat on air about how kick-ass your team is. Great job drafting. Great job managing your roster this year, Summer. Just seem to give you some props. I'm sorry. Steve, you were saying?
So my second linebacker is buried super deep. Hence, this episode, we're going deep, right? This is LB43 on Fantasy Pros. We're going to talk I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. JD, was it Burchard of the Falcons? Yeah, this is his second season, and I'm going to be a little real here, folks. He's not that great, but he's going to get great usage on the way the team has to play him because the injuries are mounting up. You mentioned Divine Diablo. Troy Anderson's been hurt, right? The beautiful thing about playing this player right now is he's got no choice the way he plays to play him in the box. He got 50 box snaps this week for free. You got 10 tackles on your roster by just picking this guy up. He's one of those sneaky back-end waiver claims that I'm picking up everywhere. He's going to exceed LB43 by default. He's going to get all the snaps and all the box snaps. Now, I know you're probably thinking what's going on with Caden Ellis. Here's what's neat. Both these guys are playable again because now that JG's in the middle, Caden Ellis, they're sneaking him out. He's still playing some box. He's getting like 46 in the box, whatever, but he had 9 tackles and an interception too. But where Ellis is scary is he rushes the passer. He's getting that trench snaps. He's getting 19 over there. He's leading the NFL right now in pressures. I don't know if you guys know that. I don't know if you know Jorge. He's got 15 pressures from the linebacker position. I looked that up for my article the other day. So that's something Ellis owners need to be excited about. I know we were excited before the season started because, big 3 scoring, 1, 2, 3, he fits. He struggled a little bit, then he came back, he popped. So both of these guys are going to balance each other. Bertrand for the tackles and Ellis for the big play scoring. So yeah, I'm really excited for the second linebacker, LB43, and I can plug him in. If I can get away with an LB2, LB3, sure. That's how you win leagues. Like the setup Summer has, all those linebackers and stick him in a flex, I'm probably winning that thing.
Nice. All right, let's go to my linebackers here for plays. Again, 3-week sample, weeks 5 through 7. Servassier Dennis. New Orleans is allowing the third most fantasy points to the linebacker position. In fact, over the past 3 games versus New Orleans, both the Giants, the Patriots, and the Bears have had both of their top 2 linebackers, specifically off-ball linebackers, get in Fantasy Pro scoring double-digit fantasy points. So you have 1A, you have 1B, you have one heck of a time for your fantasy team. Dennis over the past 3 games has tallied 27 total tackles, 18 to 9 solo to assist, 2 TFLs, a sack, a quarterback hit, LB9 in points per game as far as linebackers are concerned during that time span with 14.3 points. Coincidentally, during that time, he's also got a 14.3% tackle efficiency number. So that was a little fun fact I found there. Here's where we're going to start getting a little bit crazy, and we're just going to flip out. Hopefully. Oh my God! Remember how I was saying my post-it notes will go everywhere if I'd make like a wind? Doing this just there almost made that just go crazy. Anyhow, sorry. You want to talk about a linebacker who's fallen off for fantasy managers this year, who I was not anticipating that being the case. Aziz Al-Shaair just has basically been non-existent. We look at the past 3 weeks, just has been just atrocious. The tackle efficiency has not been there. The tackles have not been there. Just everything has been bad. So why the hell am I suggesting you play him this week? San Francisco ranks 11th in points allowed to linebackers. In fact, linebackers who are categorized as the LB1s on their team, meaning they play the most snaps over the past 3 weeks, have been allowed on average 17.4 fantasy points during that time. So your LB1 on average for your respective team going against the 49ers has averaged 17.4 fantasy points. Nate Landman, 14, and then we talk about the tackle floors, establishing the tackle floors, the fantasy floors. Nate Landman, week 5, 14 total tackles. Servassier Dennis, week 6, 7 total tackles. This past week, Caden Ellis, 9 total tackles. I mean, you're establishing that floor for him. So Aziz Al-Shair, definitely somebody who is going to be a sneaky play for you this week. He may not get you LB1 or high LB2 numbers, but he's definitely in the conversation for an LB3 to low LB2. All right, let's go to now our defensive backs. You want to start us off with defensive backs here, Steve?
Yeah, this is kind of exciting. You know my brand. You know, everybody thinks I hate defensive backs. It's not that I hate them. I like those premium, like I said, elite DLs, volume-based linebackers. You could punt DBs and still be okay if you're paying attention to coverage, all stuff. So the 2 guys I got right now are super, super deep. I got a DB 54 that I'll play, and I also got a DB 61. That's how crazy we're going this episode, everybody, okay? And Jorge, you got some sleepers too, so I'm kind of excited about this. So let's go deep here. I'm going to do Dane Belton of the Giants, okay? During Game 7, what happened? Jason Pinnock got hurt. So he just Wally pipped Pinnock, okay? So now he's in the position. He's playing the box snaps. Okay, he's played 20 times there, which is decent enough. That to me, so 41% of his plays are in the box. And another 41% are in the box and the slot, and another 57% are deep. But that helped him this week to get 10 tackles. Additionally, I have to check the injury report. I know Paulson Adebo got hurt. I don't know. I don't really check the injury report until Thursday. I want to see that last practice, so just so you guys know. But if he's hurt with that shoulder injury, Deonte Banks stepped in. There's a lot of trade rumors. I don't know if you guys pay attention to it. I kind of put it in the Safety Dance article. They don't like him in camp right now. His work ethic's questionable. They're trying to trade him before the deadline. Okay? So all that leaves is Belton and New. It's a rumor. That's why I didn't mention it earlier, because I'm not sure. No beat writers reported it, but that's stuff we're hearing on, Reddit, Twitter, what have you. So Tyler Nubin got 9 tackle outbursts, but if you look at the rest of his weeks, he's a steady 4 or 5 tackles a game. Sadly, I'm not going to throw Nubin away, but I can't start him confidently. So, if you're doing the math here, by default, there's 4 players in question I just mentioned. The only one that has an absolute role for the moment is Belton.
There we go. Who's your second DB for the week here, Steve?
And you see how deep we can go on these. This is crazy. So, Mickey Blackman of the Colts, DB 61, yes. Right? 1, 2, 3 scoring. He's DB 14 right now. This is why I don't draft these guys super high, because you can find them every year like this. Every year. You know what else you can find every year? We're seeing it. Linebackers get hurt like running backs. So if you want to build a championship team, this is how you do it. You get players like this. But what's funny about Blackman is he's actually a pretty good player too. He's doing things on the field that I'm kind of excited about. So let's talk a little bit about him. He was traded from the Vikings. A lot of people don't know that 6th-round pick. I think of Blackman. I think of the other Blackman that the Colts used to play,
Julian,
but after 6 weeks, he's had at least 200 snaps. He's quietly established himself as very productive, as I just told you. Well, let me show you what he ranks. He ranks 10th overall in PFF in coverage and 14th overall EPA. He's actually has 2 interceptions too, so throw a couple splash plays in there. He's actually second amongst their DBs that they're grading. You add in the 3 pass deflections he has, the 29 tackles, the sack over those 6 games. It's clear most of your formats, I don't know the scoring, context matters, of course, but it's clear he's going to be a top guy. DB 14, the leagues I play in, that's fringe DB 1 that I can get super, super late. Fantasy Pros is sleeping on the DB 61 right now. It's an absolute steal.
Nice. Very nice. Let me get to my 2 DBs, and we'll cruise through our fades and get to our favorite segment, Sack Lunch, before we have to get out of here. Josh Metellus, Minnesota Vikings, weeks 5 through 7, DB 18, safety 18 in points per game. The Chargers are allowing the 7th most points per game to safeties. The past 3 weeks, safeties with the highest number of box snaps facing the Chargers have gotten with Fantasy Pro scoring 15.3 points, 10 points, 15.5 points. This is definitely going to be a situation where Josh Metellus is lined up to have a lot of good opportunity here. My second guy, Marcus Jones. I wrote about him back-to-back weeks over on the waiver wire article at Fantasy and Frames, and again, weeks 5 through 7. He's been the slot cornerback. He's the slot cornerback for the New England Patriots. He has been the cornerback 1 in points per game. And then in terms of DB overall, I mean, defensive backs like safeties, corners, free safeties, box safeties, like whatever defensive back you want to call, weeks 5 through 7 has been the DB2, which is crazy. He's tallied 14 total tackles the past 3 games. Among all DBs, he has the most he leads in pass breakups with or pass defended with 8. He is the DB3 in tackles for a loss. What really blows my mind is his tackle efficiency or tackle rate is 10.4 the past 3 weeks. The average for tackle efficiency for a linebacker is 13. A cornerback is almost producing linebacker level average tackle efficiency. He is, I said it a couple weeks ago, when all healthy, and this has kind of been a problem for the first 2 I'm going to mention, when all healthy, if I had to throw a cornerback into my defensive back spot, Devin Witherspoon, Kenny Moore, Marcus Jones. Like that's how I would do it there. All right, let's get into our fades. Let's hit us up with our fades at defensive line there, Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to do them both together real quick because I'm kind of pissed off at them the same way. Jermaine Johnson and Chris Jones. Remember Animal House? Jermaine Johnson's on double secret probation. He hasn't done anything for me. He got, that 1 sack? So 12 tackles, 1 sack. Chris Jones the same way, 10 tackles, 2 sacks. Again, if Jermaine Johnson, he has that game against the Bengals coming up this week. If you don't do anything there, I'm cutting you. That's how ticked off I am at him. And Chris Jones just takes plays off. I'm already upset. You can tell I'm heated. Both of those guys are fades. I'm done with them.
I hear you. My guy, I want to talk about the first one. May not be somebody you were immediately thinking, woo, he's an option. Okay. I wrote about him this week in the waiver wire article because I was kind of blown away by what I was reading about him and researching about him. And then I'm going to tell you why I think he's a fade this week. Talking about Jacob Martin, Washington Commander, weeks 5 through 7 per PFF. In terms of edge rushers, he's number 7 in total pressures with 13, has converted 13 of those pressures for 2 sacks, has a pressure rate of 17.8% during that time period, the past 3 weeks. That is, the pressure rate for an edge rusher, the average is 10.6. So he's getting you 17.8. That is correct. And of course, these metrics are per PFF. Dorrance Armstrong is on IR. Then we saw Jacob Martin get the sack on Dak Prescott this past week. So, this guy is a high motor guy, likes to apply pressures, obviously. I mean, just has been phenomenal. And now he's going to get even more opportunities to do even more damage. So why am I fading him this week? Well, first of all, KC against defensive ends or defensive linemen is 17th in terms of fantasy points allowed. So not great there. KC allows the 8th fewest sacks on the season. Over the past 3 weeks, only one defensive end has tallied double-digit fantasy points against Kansas City, and that's Aiden Hutchinson. And no disrespect to Jacob Martin, who is lined up to do really good. You're not Aiden Hutchinson. So not going there. Epic fail, you asked about Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith. Well, Herbig is going to be a fade for me. Green Bay versus Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football. Green Bay allows the 8th fewest sacks on the season. Over the past 2 weeks, no edge rusher has come close to double-digit fantasy points, not even the great Trey Hendrickson. Now, granted, Alex Highsmith is also back. They're going to be eating into each other's snaps too much. I'm fading both of them, to be honest with you. The linebacker position here. Can I start off with the linebacker this time? Because you asked me, or I said before in their pre-show meeting, I can stir up some shit. So let me stir up some shit right now.
Go ahead.
And it's to your guy. It's the JT Bertrand of the Atlanta Falcons who was a play. And I want to preface this by saying, he's all right.
Yeah.
He's all right. I mean, last week he came on in relief of Divine Diablo, 10 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 assists, finished as the LB 33 in fantasy points and points per game with 10.5. Has a tough matchup this week. Miami allows the 7th fewest points to the linebackers. Go back to week 5, looking at the primary linebackers that the Dolphins have faced. Christian Roseboom got 13 points. Dye has gotten 10.8 for the Chargers. Jerome Baker last week got 14.3 points, where he's not even like one of the top off-ball linebackers. He literally is like, where the hell did this come from? Mostly off of impact plays. So, and then the news came out today where the defensive coordinator for the Falcons was like, well, we're going to use these linebackers in a rotation. And I'm like, you're not helping the case here. I have no doubt, given his box usage, like you were just talking about earlier in the plays, that he is going to be amongst all the linebackers, will be in the best position to make plays. I am just worried about what is that ceiling going to be like. I'm sure he's a great, so, and not to mention, I think that there are other options available for managers that give you a higher ceiling than what he's going to give you. He's going to give you a great floor. I'm just concerned about the upside.
Sure, without question. This is without question. When I fade, I'm looking at those top tier guys. Okay, no. If it's a flyer, you already know you're shopping at the dollar store. Don't expect
that makes a lot of sense. Well, then, if that's the case, then let me really knock your socks off here. Who I'm fading this week? Alex Singleton. Yes, I said it. Alex Singleton.
Shots fired.
Fading him. Denver versus Dallas. Dallas is allowing the 4th fewest fantasy points to the linebacker position. Going back to week 5 versus the New York Jets. Jamian Sherwood. I don't know if you heard of him. He's kind of good. Only got you 9 fantasy points. You get to week 6 versus Carolina. You may have heard of him if you're a Panthers fan, but probably not. Trevin Wallace, 10 fantasy points. Whoop-de-doo. Last week versus the Commanders, Bobby Wagner, the Bobby Wagner, the guy who is, all powerful, only got you 8.3 points. Like, literally being the linebacker facing the Dallas Cowboys is hard, which is crazy because you would think that how much they run the ball, that would be the opposite. But when you're looking at a lot of the running plays, and I'm not trying to get into too much like X's and O's when it comes to offense, but like there's very few that's like seeing running plays. You're very few running plays rather where Javonte is going up the middle. It's more of a situation where like they're going to the outside. And Bobby Wagner, north-south speed, great. Side to side, that's a little bit trickier for him. So that's why he did poorly this past week. And, that's why I'm saying fade Alex Singleton. I'm not saying sit Alex Singleton. I'm saying fade your expectations of getting these high LB numbers from him this week. All right, let's finish off with defensive backs, and then we'll get to our sack lunch. So who do you got, Steve?
For defensive backs?
Yes.
Okay. So for defensive backs, what I got is I took obviously Marcus Sigel. We already know he's losing snaps left and right. That's a literal safety dance right now. Jair Brown came back off of injury. He's getting all the snaps. We didn't anticipate that. Malik Mustafa's splitting them, but he's only getting 31% snaps right now. I don't feel good or comfortable playing him. I actually dropped him a lot of places. That's my first guy. I don't think Fantasy Pros has caught up to what's going on. And then lastly, this is DB42, Justin Reed. But he's my point here, I got him fade. He's in every damn league picked up. And a lot of people are still playing him. He's still a household name and a starter in every league, but I'm fading him because of his recent production. It's underwhelming. Jorge, I looked it up before I came on. 1, 2, 3 scoring. Where's Justin Reed at? DB42 is where he's ranked. Where's he at? He's actually scoring DB 115 points. No, thank you. I can't play it anywhere, even in the deepest of leagues.
Right. No, I mean, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. And it's crazy because once you get to those defensive backs that are like ranked into the hundreds or something, you look at the actual fantasy point numbers, like it's like 30 defensive backs in a row that have gotten like 4.5. And it's just a matter of them just going down the pecking order. All right, so my defensive backs for the week. Now, this is where it gets really spicy. Trayvon Moehrig, Nick Cross. The past 3 weeks, the Buffalo Bills have allowed the 2nd fewest fantasy points to the position. The Titans have allowed the 3rd fewest to the position. When we look at the average for Buffalo and Tennessee versus box safeties, this past week. The highest box safety score the past 3 weeks that both teams have gotten has been under 10 fantasy points. So these guys, Trayvon Moehrig, Nick Cross, these are guys that you're expecting like in the teens, the mid-teens to the approaching 20s in fantasy points using Fantasy Pro scoring. I don't think you're getting that this week. If anything, man, I don't want to even say single digits, but you're going to get low double digits, and that's fine if that's what you're shooting for. If that's what you need, if you have a matchup where it's like, I don't need the world to end, but if you're expecting, if you're those managers of Moehrig and Cross, and you're like, oh, easily close to a 20-digit game, 20-point game, excuse me, I don't think you're getting that this week. So those who are on fading. All right, Steve, let's get out of here first. Let's do some sack lunch. So one day we will have everybody reunited on the show, JT, Gary Davenport, and we will finally have a tally of like who's winning this competition as far as picking which defender. We can only pick once during the season that we predict will have at least a sack this coming week. So who is your guy that you're predicting will get a sack this week for you?
So usually I give you like this outstanding analysis. I don't. This is a lazy pick because it feels like a no-brainer to me. I'm going Trey Hendrickson to the Jets. Why? Because, hey, he's Trey Hendrickson. Why? Because it's the Jets. Go figure. Something's good's going to happen out of that matchup. Sign me up for that.
Mine is going to be equally impactful. Brian Burns. I don't know if you heard of him. He had like a couple sacks versus the Eagles the last time they played. So why not? So, and not to mention, I haven't used an elite edge rusher all season long. I've been saving those for later in the season. So busting this one out now because I feel like I'm behind you all in terms of that. So I gotta get my points back up. But,
I'm waiting for this scoring. You keep saying we'll reveal it.
I have it like roughly in my head what it is. There's some half point assignments here and there, some 0.75s. I'm just kidding. I'll make it fairly fair and comparable to something fair. But anyhow, that does it here for Shoot the Gap here with Steve Hungartner, IDP Hunter on Twitter. Make sure you follow him there as well as over at the IDP Center. You have your show coming on pretty soon in a few minutes. So if you're on YouTube, head over to his page and check that
IDP
out.
Center on YouTube, yep.
And then, of course, you can follow me at Jorge B. Edwards and at Fantasy and Frames. Check out all of our written work over at Fantasy and Frames and at Fantasy Six Pack for Steve. So for Steve, great job, great time. Hope we'll get these guys back together, and the show will continue. Have a great rest of your week, and the rest of you out there. If you have any more IDP questions, obviously hit us up. And then for me, we do our pregame show on Sundays from 9 to noon. Latest IDP information. If you have any questions, just drop in the YouTube chat, and we'll be happy to answer. So for Steve, I'm Jorge. You all have a great rest of your evening.